And I think that this combines the best of the both worlds because that battle mask is actually quite cool. I like that battle mask. What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex, and you're watching The Road to TF5. This is just Webster's. We're talking about Transformers last night. This is episode number 69, and in this episode, we are going to talk about Bumblebee's new robot mode. It has been revealed on the new concept art, and the production has been releasing new concept art for the characters in Transformers last night on a regular basis. In the last episode, I talked about Megatron's new robot mode, and that was a pretty big deal. Well, now we got the robot mode for Bumblebee, and we're going to talk about that. First, I got to get through some awesome birthday shoutouts. Awesome birthday shoutouts go out to JokerFan005, JGames05, Osiris Junk, MechTechBoy1304, and Samantha Shakespeare. Happy birthday to all y'all. Hope you had a good one, and you guys stay awesome. Also, I'd like to give a special shout out to another awesome Ragin Nation member, Me Entertainment, and I just want to say thank you for your thoughtful comment. It really meant a lot to me, and thanks for being awesome. So let's talk about Bumblebee and his new robot mode. The main reason why it took me so long to make a video for Bumblebee was because it was just released right before the weekend. And in the weekend, well, it's the freaking weekend, and I just wanted to relax, had a barbecue, and I didn't want to think about too much of that stuff. And to top things off, the Bumblebee robot mode that was revealed in the concept art didn't look all that much different from what we've seen before. Now, it is actually quite different, but not that much different that I was like, wow. But let's talk about that. First of all, just a little bit of a brief history lesson. Bumblebee has gone through many changes. 2007 was when we saw the very first Transformers film. The Transformers last night will be released next year in 2017. That's 10 years worth of changes. He has started off as a 1977 Camaro to a 2006 Camaro concept to a 2009 Camaro in Revenge of the Fallen to a 2011 Camaro in Dark of the Moon, back to a 1968 Camaro SS in Age of Extinction, and also to a 2014 Camaro concept, and now in Transformers last night, he's a custom-built 2016 Camaro. Now let's talk about that robot mode. So let's check out that robot mode, and it shows Bumblebee, second in command, loyal guardian, and scout, and wow, doesn't he look like the original robot mode? Check this out. He just doesn't look that much different from what we've seen before. Now, if you haven't already seen the custom-built Camaro for Transformers last night, one thing that really stands out is the front. The front is custom-built so that it just looks extremely different from what we've seen before, and it makes up a huge portion of the chest in a robot mode. As you can see, the chest looks very different from what we're used to. So this looks like the original Bumblebee that we've seen from the first 3 films. Now, what's really interesting about this is that the battle mask is very reminiscent as the battle mask that he had in Transformers Age of Extinction. My big question is, how does he do that? Because if you look at the head of the Bumblebee, this new version of Bumblebee, where does all of that material come from that forms this battle mask? That's something that I'm really curious about, because from what I understand and from the way that the battle mask comes down is that he just flips his head down, he nods, and then the Bumblebee, the battle mask comes down. This does not look like any of those mask parts, okay? If you look closely at the head, it feels like these mask parts have to come down from another part of his head. So I'm just wondering how that works, because this doesn't look very physically possible. So I'm wondering how they're going to do that. Maybe it's just going to come down from some hidden parts, but from what I see, I just don't see it coming down the way it does. Because if you look at Bumblebee from the very first Transformers film in 2007, he looked like this, okay? And then when his battle mask came down, he just shook his head downwards, and then it came down like that. A very, very simple transition, right? The same thing with Transformers Age of Extinction. In Transformers Age of Extinction, a huge dramatic change to his robot mode and also his head sculpt. And when he flipped his mask down, it looked like that. And it made sense because if you look at the top of his head, when his battle mask is up, it looks like that it forms the battle mask once it's down, right? So you can see that happening. But the Transformers Last Night custom-built 2016 Camaro, or rather that version of Bumblebee, it has both versions of the head. You got the old head with the new battle mask, and I'm just not sure how that works. But anyways, it's just something that I found, and I just wanted to bring it up to you guys as an observation. Now let's look at Bumblebee's robot mode and go through the changes, okay? So back in the 2007 original Transformers film, he was a 1977 Camaro, and his robot mode looked like this. Very, very busy design, as you can see. A lot of parts that are all over the place. You can clearly see the front of the Camaro and its headlights on the chest, but it's a lot of yellow parts, like exterior parts, and then a lot of darker colored, like black internal parts, okay? And then he, of course, changed modes into the new 2006 Camaro concept, and as you can see, there's a lot more yellow. And it's a cleaner looking design because you can see that the parts are more, I guess they have less lines on them, and you can tell that the chest has the headlights, okay? At the bottom you can see these headlights, and they got the circle headlights. So keep a note of that because it makes a change in that for the robot mode for Revenge of the Fallen. Now he's got the square headlights in Revenge of the Fallen, but the rest of them is still quite the same. So then he changes to the Dark of the Moon Camaro. Still not that much change in the robot mode. As you can see, the headlights are the square headlights that are very similar to the ones in Revenge of the Fallen. So not much change there. So the Camaro, or rather the robot mode for Bumblebee in 2007, 2009, and 2011 has been very, very similar, if not the complete same robot mode, okay? Physically. But once you go over to Transformers Age of Extinction in 2014, of course, there's been a major change. He is now a 1968 Camaro SS, and obviously the chest is completely different. He still maintains the head, the head that we're so used to looking at, but now there's a lot more black on him, and obviously a lot more internal parts are more exposed. But then, of course, he transforms into the new 2014 Camaro concept. And then, of course, you get this version, which is totally different. This is the biggest change that Bumblebee has ever gone through as a robot. Look at this. His head is more rounded off. It's a more rounded head. It doesn't look like he's got those horns like before. His chest is completely different. His legs and his arms is more sharper pieces. All right? They don't even look like actual car parts. They just look like sharp pieces that are you know, just like armor, just there to cover up his exposed internal parts. So it just looks very, very different. The chest is totally different, okay? And then, of course, once he puts on his battle mask, he looks like it just looks like an insect, because if you look at that black part, it just looks like almost like insect eyes, right? Like a bumblebee. All right, but now we're looking at the custom-built 2016 Camaro robot mode. Like I said before, it looks just like the Bumblebee robot mode in the first Transformers film, Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon. The only thing that is different is really just the chest. The chest entirely, the whole thing is just like, wow, like they really made it quite a transformation there, because obviously the custom built portion of the front of the 2016 Camaro is has been modified heavily, and that is totally reflected on the chest. As for this battle mask, it is still quite different from the 2014 battle mask. If you compare it with the 2014 battle mask, you can tell that the 2014 battle mask actually has more black to it. The 2016 battle mask has a lot more yellow to it. But once again, I'm really curious how it materializes over his face, because like I said before, his head before the battle mask goes on is really quite plain. It's not very busy looking like in the 2014 version. So anyways, those are my thoughts on Bumblebee. Bumblebee hasn't really changed that much. I'm actually quite surprised they didn't decide to change him up a little more. I gotta be completely honest with you. The 2014 robot mode in Transformers Age of Extinction it's gotta definitely be my least favorite. I actually prefer his Camaro SS robot mode over his 2014 robot mode. And I think that this combines the best of the both worlds, because that battle mask is actually quite cool. I like that battle mask, and I'm liking this design because what it does is it just updates the original robot design. So here is Bumblebee. He's the second in command. If he's the second in command, that makes him second right before or right after Optimus Prime. And so if something happens to Optimus Prime, then Bumblebee is next. So that probably tells you something about the story. But anyways, we're not going to talk about that too much. Why don't you leave me your thoughts about what you think will happen in the comment section below. And how do you feel about Bumblebee's new updated robot mode? All it really is, in my opinion, from what I see, based on this quick observation, is just the chest and the battle mask. But other than that, it really looks like a very similar look to the first 3 versions of Bumblebee's robot mode, alright? So anyways, that's all I have to say in this video. And I'm going to give shoutouts. I'm going to give shoutouts to people who retweeted my previous episode, episode 69. If you follow me and retweet me on Twitter, I will give you a random shoutout. And the shoutout goes out to Kohei Toko, Macaulay Barron, Spiderbot77, Nick, Owen, yeah, Angelia Storm, Matthew Falkin, Max Schultz, Domback651, and there you have it. Those are the shoutouts for this episode, and now I'm going to answer questions. If you sent me a question, or rather tweeted me a question on Twitter with the hashtag TheRoadToTF5, I'm going to look for a couple of questions to answer on camera. Alright, so the first question is from TF Nerd. Let me take a sip of this water. Very freaking thirsty. How awesome would it be if we could get a Civil War airport battle-like scene with the bots, Edicons, and Dinobots? Extremely awesome. I loved the battle in Captain America Civil War, the airport tarmac battle, and the reason why that our airport battle worked so well was because it was cohesive. It was in a simple setting. That would be the airport tarmac with some scenes inside the airport, but it was very simple. But even though they jumped back and forth between different battles, like personal battles between like Spider-Man and Iron Man and Vision and Black Widow, like even though they jumped around, it was still very cohesive because it all took place in one single area. It was very easy to see what was going on, mainly because if you saw some guys fighting here, you still notice in the background other guys fighting somewhere else. So it was just very cohesive. The fights in Transformers that are directed by Michael Bay, especially in the final battles, are not very cohesive. You do not get an idea of the geography of where things are taking place, and things just happen suddenly. Like, for example, in Transformers Dark of the Moon, the Autobots being captured. It just happens with no explanation. So that is something that I find actually hurts the final battles. I think they're all very exciting, don't get me wrong, but all they are just big music videos of action and excitement and explosions and just like fighting, all right? But I still think they're very, very exciting and fun to watch. I think they just could be directed better. And I think the airport battle in Captain America Civil War is just a very prime example of how to do a final battle right. Okay? So that's how I feel about that. And if they get the same type of playground to work with, it could be really, really exciting. Imagine that. Monetary Corn 1 asks, do you think Galvatron will recreate Megatron with the KSI technology? Absolutely. Galvatron still has that technology. He can transform into a Freightliner Argosy. Heck, it's possible he can transform into something else because that technology still exists within his system. So I'm thinking that he's going to use that technology, not transform into a Freightliner Argosy, and go back to becoming Megatron into a robot mode as he sees fit. And that's why it looks so different from what we've seen before. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking if they're going to keep things really, really simple, that's probably what's going to happen. Mr. Shaq Infinity asks, if Bay doesn't direct TF6, I want J.J. Abrams to direct. What do you think if J.J. Abrams direct TF6? I think that would be absolutely awesome. I think that is my #1 choice for director for Transformers. Unfortunately, it is not happening. J.J. Abrams is busy producing all kinds of franchise films like Star Trek, Star Wars, Mission Impossible, and other bad robot productions like films that are similar to 10 Cloverfield Lane, but he mentioned publicly that he is no longer going to be directing a franchise film. And by franchise film, he means that he's never going to direct a film that is part of a franchise. So there's no way he's going to direct Transformers 6. There's no way he's going to direct another Star Trek movie or another Star Wars film. It's just not happening. He decided that he's not going to direct any more franchise films. He will serve as a producer, but as for directing, he's going to go into more original works. Okay? But I would have loved to see that. Last question comes from King Deathbat25. Do you think we will ever see a big war between Autobots and Decepticons as seen in Fall of Cybertron or War for Cybertron? Yes, we will see it. There is a animated, 100% CG animated Transformers prequel tentatively titled Transformers 1, and it's supposed to be completely CG animated and will take place on Cybertron. And Ant-Man writers, Gabriel Ferrari and I forgot the names of the Ant-Man writers, but there's an Ant-Man writing duo, and they're the ones that are working on the Cybertron prequel, tentatively titled Transformers 1. And you better believe there's going to be a big battle taking place. If you want to see a big battle taking place in the live-action universe, the only other time we're going to see it is in that flashback sequence in Transformers Dark of the Moon, but that's it. Any other Cybertron sequence, most likely, if we're not going to see it in Transformers Last Night, we will see it in the CG animated feature, Transformers 1, which is a tentative name for that film. Alright? And there you have it. That's all I gotta say in this video. What do you guys think about Bumblebee? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you think something terrible is gonna happen to Optimus where Bumblebee takes his place as the leader? After all, he's not gonna be seen, or rather, you know, the next film is a Bumblebee spin-off film. That kind of tells you something. What's going to happen? I'm thinking that Hot Rod has something to do with that. I think he plays a pretty significant part in what happens to Optimus Prime at the end of Transformers Last Night. Anyways, let me know your theories on the comment section below. There is a contest on Instagram. Go check it out. Follow me on Instagram and then answer the skill testing question. It's some Transformers live action trivia, and you will have the opportunity to win a Transformers prize pack that I put together, and it consists of a Western Star lanyard. It's a Western Star Transformers Age of Extinction lanyard. You can put your keys on that. You will also get this cool Transformers Revenge of the Fallen shopping bag, as well as this Transformers 2007 Sector 7 Top Secret Archives booklet. Okay, so you got a lot of really cool stuff in here. It's got a lot of cool info, and you can win that as long as you're following me on Instagram, and also you answer the skill testing question correctly. And then I'll announce the winner as soon as we get someone who answers it correctly. There you have it. That's all I gotta say in this video. As always, if you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. Follow me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation, and also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thank you for all your support. I'll see you next time. Peace. Let's take a look at his arsenal. We got what appears to be brass knuckles on the right side. I don't know if they're really gonna come